funky one. Connor, will you make sure that's like nice and focused? If not, just tap the screen for me. That cleared up a little bit?
Yep.
All right, cool. So what we're doing today is we have worked on foiling and box method or creating trinomials. Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to work on doing the opposite. So we're going to take these trinomials, okay, and we're going to factor them down to become two binomials. Let me say that again. Instead of doing the box method or FOIL to create a trinomial, we are now going to be taking the trinomial and breaking it down into the two binomials. Do you understand? All right, so there are lots of ways to solve these problems. I'm going to teach them to you over the way. Today, though, I'm going to teach you what I consider to be the most methodical, meaning it's going to take the longest and take the most steps, but it's going to work every single time, 100% of the time. Does that make sense? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to multiply the number here by this number. So how many number, or what number do I have in front of the x squared here? A 1. So I'm going to do 1 times a negative 2, which is going to give me a negative 2. That's step 1. Is everybody okay with that?
Would that be negative 2x squared?
I don't want you to worry about that. I'm just worried simply about the numbers. Don't worry about the x squared right now. Okay? Don't worry about the x squared, just the numbers. Now what I want you to think about for just a second is what do you have to multiply together to get a negative 2? What are the two numbers that I can multiply together to get a negative 2? Tommy?
A negative 2 and a 1.
Don't we agree we can do 1 times a negative 2? Can anybody think of a different way to get negative 2? Hayden?
Negative 1 times a positive 2.
Well, if I do, yeah, perfect. Negative 1 times a positive 2. Do we agree that those are the only two numbers I can multiply to get a negative 2? Okay, we're all good with that. So the first step, I multiplied what we call the A term by the C term. On your star chart, just to kind of bring this all back together, it's the top section. So this is now officially the last section that we haven't covered this factoring. We're jumping into that section. Then what we did is we listed out all the factors. We got lucky that it was such a small number in negative 2. If this number was negative 100, it's going to take you quite a while to list them out, right? But just be aware of that. What we're going to do now is we're going to add these numbers together. So what is 1 plus a negative 2?
1.
Negative 1. What is negative 1 plus 2?
1.
Positive 1. You with me so far on that? Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick our answer based off whatever our B term is. So what is my B term that I have right here? 1. So which one am I going to have to use here? These numbers right here. Okay. Yeah, Brian.
If you have like more than 2 numbers, it'd be 3 answers, and you choose one of those.
There will only ever be one multiplying out of this entire list that will give you the B term. There will only be one. No matter how big the number is, we can list them all out. There will only be one that ever produces that perfect response right there.
Wait,
Yeah.
so if it's like a random, so like 8x, you know, could you just do a random, can you try to figure it out in your head?
You could. Again, there's multiple ways to do this. In my mind, though, this is the easiest way to do it, especially when you have a calculator, because you can divide numbers together. And I think as you go through them, you'll realize that this is a pretty fail-proof method. Colin?
So negative 1 plus 2 plus 1 is your answer?
Nope, not yet. That's just one of the steps. Brian?
Will there ever be decimals?
There will not be decimals now.
There was like 4 steps in that one step.
Okay? So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take this x, which how many x's do I have here?
2.
X squared has been broken up into 2 x's. Do we agree with that? Everybody okay there? took my two x's that I split, I took negative 1 and put it here, and I took 2 and put it there. And now I've created two binomials. Okay, now let's say you're skeptical because you're like, that's a lot of steps and I don't really understand what you just did. How could I check my work here? FOIL or box method. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x.
Oh,
Negative 1 times x is, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. We're good there? Tommy, what's up? Now, obviously, y'all, I just want to express this to you. Notice that my A terms don't have any numbers in front of them. At some point, we will get to a process probably next week where these numbers will have numbers in front of them. Today, we're just learning the basics behind this. We're just learning the general idea. Okay? All right, I'm going to erase this. We're going to go to number 2.
Is this the last thing with all polynomials before I test?
For the most part, yeah. We'll do a couple different methods of this. We'll talk about perfect squares. But yes, for the most part, this is it. Okay, does anybody remember what step 1 was? What I just told you step 1 was?
X squared times.
Your A term, the term in front here, multiplied by your C term. So 1 times 12 is... And notice that last time we had a negative answer and this time we have a positive answer. That makes a big difference. Because with a positive answer, we're going to have less numbers to deal with. Every time you write a negative answer, you've got to flip it. So let's just break this down. What can I multiply together to get 12? And in my brain, I usually start with 1. And I'll say, okay, let's do 1 and 12. What's another one I can do? 2 and what, Katie? 2 and 6. What about 3 and 4? Okay, now how do I know I'm done at that point?
because it starts flipping.
Because I'm at 3 and 4 now, so if I start going backwards, it's just a reversal. Okay, but I got one more trick question for you here. What about negatives?
Negative 1 and negative
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't we agree that a negative number times a negative number, i.e. negative 1 times a negative 12, negative 2 times a negative 6, negative 3 times a negative 4? Do we agree with those?
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you though, the only time you'll ever need a negative for this is when you have a C term that is or a B term that is negative. Okay? Okay, so first step was to multiply A and C together. Second step was to list out all of our factors here. Does anybody remember what the third step is? Tommy?
Add all those and see which one.
Yep. We're going to add them all together. And so what I mean by add them all together is literally exactly what I just said. Well, 12 plus 1 is?
13.
6 plus 2 is?
8.
3 plus 4 is?
7.
Okay, now, I know we're looking for 7, so I know I could technically stop there, but since I'm teaching this concept, I'm going to work through the negatives to show you what happens, okay? Negative 1 plus negative 12 is negative 13. Negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8. Negative 3 and negative 4 is negative 7. So looking at that, I only have one possible option where the answer is 7. The only possible option is my positive 3 and positive 4. Do we agree? So now I'm going to split my x's. X and x. X plus 3. X plus 4. And that's our answer. Once again, just for the sake of teaching, how could I check this if I didn't believe it? FOIL or box method? FOIL or box method? Okay, decent so far? Alright, I want you to try number 3. Again, just try it. You got nothing to lose. We're just practicing learning these steps here. Literally have nothing to lose here. Yes, Connor?
So why would you have to pick a specific one? Like, what if two could work?
Say it again.
Like, what if two of them could work?
No.
No, only one.
No, only one. It seems
Yeah,
Yeah, only one of them. Yeah.
it's,
I don't think one of them will work. I don't think two of them will work.
no, that's
If I'm wrong, I'll admit it, but I don't think that two can
Yeah,
work.
only one of them will work or one is possible.
Let me pause my video real quick. Start the next one.